They're awesome, you know, and I got to meet him for the first time at AGI, and
about waste or glass, like if you have a big bucket over here full of, I guess, odds and ends or pieces that didn't work, or you got.
yeah, like just learning, and you know, years of blowing glass is a lot of stuff that you make just ends up trash. Like you go through a lot of material just learning your trade and learning how to do stuff. Even stuff that you might be proud of that you take a picture of, you might not necessarily want to sell, you know what I mean? It might look cool, but in the art world it won't cut it because of little things like in the glass, you know, devitrification, or you didn't lock up a weld just right or whatever. So it either ends up in the trash or in your collection or on your shelf, you know, somewhere, you know, like that. But like this bucket over here, see, but yeah, over here, this is all just crap. Like stuff that didn't make it, and it's full from the top to the bottom of, you know, either scrap that I used and got thrown out, pieces that didn't make it, this is scrap, this is a piece that didn't make it, something that didn't make it that might look really nice. Like you can take a look, I mean, people usually look at my trash and they're like, wow, that's, you know, that's something really nice. And I'm like, no, it's trash.
So you can't use that.
That particular thing, no, because see what I did was I coated it in a clear, and it doesn't like that. It doesn't like to be encased in clear, this particular color. So what happens is when it goes to the cycling of the kiln, by the time it gets down, I had to come back over here or this will break. By the time it gets down to a certain temperature, it doesn't want to be compatible with the clear that's on it, and then it just starts cracking like all over it. And it like and I literally spent about, this is about, my friend and I were working, we were trying to make a big lightsaber, and we had the whole lightsaber done. Okay, it took all friggin' night, used up a whole bunch of gas. Would have been nice to sell it, but we put it in the kiln. I knew that this glass was going to do that, but I thought, oh, I'm good enough now that I know some secret that's going to keep it from doing it this time, and it did the same thing it always does. And I told him, I even told my buddy, I was like, man, I knew it was going to do that. I don't even know why I used that color. But yeah, stuff like that all the time, you know. It's risks, though. You have to take risks if you want to achieve a certain level of, you know, like to your glass and making it, you know, cool or whatever. I mean, if I had pulled that off, it would have been really neat, you know, because that's a really cool color and you don't see it that often. I've actually used it and pulled it off with this glass one other time, and it was because I didn't work the glass too much. That's why I thought I could pull it off. I actually, you know, pulled it off on something smaller, and it just wasn't going to work this time. But that happens, you know. That's part of the risk part. You know, you're like, I'm going to try it anyway, even though I know it might not work, and I might spend a whole bunch of time and have nothing at the end of it. That's how when I started making these, it was like that. You know, I couldn't. These didn't come out for the longest. I made so many. Let me show you, for instance. Yeah, I made so many of these that ended up like this. Okay, this is just an example right there. That's a whole day of work. It's 8 hours of work, and that's what I have to show for it. Thing on a stick. And if you look, there's really cool stuff in there. I mean, take a look. There's like little planets, and if it falls off and breaks, it's no big deal. It's just junk. But there's like planets and a sun in there, and UFO. Yeah, or something, right? Yeah, see, a lot of people see the trash and they're like, that's cool, I'll take that trash, you know, that's neat. And, you know, it's cool. But, you know, but like I said, there is a whole learning thing, and like a lot of stuff just, you know, until you get to a certain level. You know, I've been fortunate, very fortunate, that I have a mother that supports my art habit. You know, that's what this is to me. It's like this art habit. You know, I want to learn how to be a really good artist, and if you don't have some kind of support, you really can't make it. I don't think. You know, you have to have some kind of bankroll money or something put aside to be able to do this, because you're going to go through, if you want to achieve a certain level anyway, because you're going to go through a whole period where you're just making ashtrays or whatever you call them in the art class, you know, when you make the thing and it doesn't come out and you call it an ashtray or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Like me in a pottery class, I made this big old ball. I thought it was going to be a cereal ball, and it turned out to be an ashtray. When it shrank down, finally finished. I was just like, okay, that was a learning experience I wasn't ready for. Okay, what do you have to do now?
Right here, I'm changing the temperature of my kiln. What I did last night, I ramped my kiln up to a higher temperature to strike some colors on a piece I was working on. Basically, if you turn your kiln up to a certain temperature, it's fine. It's just telling me that it's past the temperature that I just set it on, and I know that because I was turning it down. Yeah, like this color here. If you see it, you see down here, it's got one color, and then up here you see another color. Let me turn it. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. So what happened is, see, this is the part that I was working on the flame, and it's what they call striking. It's a striking color. And the flame oxidizes and makes the color change from this color to this color, and you can actually get that variance depending on how you work the piece that you're working on. Like if I made a whole piece full of this color, I could get some of the piece to be darker like this, and some of the piece to be maybe not as light as this, but a little lighter, you know, like than this. Exactly, and it's all from how I'm waving it around in the torch and how I put it in the kiln. If I put it in the kiln and I bring it up to a higher temperature, like I was saying I did the other night, it will strike, the whole piece will turn. If I bring it up to say, you know, 1050 is the annealing temperature, but if I bring it up to say 11, you know, something, depending on what I'm striking, I can make the whole piece turn this dark color, where it was only like a lighter color before, if I let it soak in the kiln. So I'm just basically just putting my kiln back to the just stable annealing temperature, nothing crazy, not trying to strike. Or if you put pieces in there and your kiln's too high and they have striking colors and they sit there you know, in the kiln too long, they'll become overworked. If you bring them out and you keep putting them in the fire, putting them in the real hot kiln, and then the colors do things that you don't want them doing. So yeah, next I'm going to pull a point of this. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to get this far learning how to blow glass if I didn't have my mom's support, you know, and there just would be no way. I wouldn't be able to afford it because it costs a lot of money to do it, you know, to just get a tank. And if you don't have the liquid oxygen and you're just working with a compressed tank of oxygen, it just costs so much that there would be no way I could afford it unless I had her help, like she helped me to do it. So it's been awesome, because I don't see how a lot of people that I know in the glass game have made it as far as they have, man. It's like, you know, and be able to afford it.
Well, it's like kind of going back to the Renaissance time. A lot of the artists back then, that's the only way they could do it, is they had the supporters.
Sorry.
People voting out, mentioning them doing the work. You were talking earlier about artists that you want their opinion, or you want them to know that you're an artist, you know, or viewers that listen.
Well, I'd like them to consider me an artist, because I don't think that I'm probably not yet, because I'm very recluse when it comes to the art scene. I don't go out. I don't do. A lot of these guys are going out to all these different things, and you know, putting themselves out there, entering contests and this and that. And I don't do any of that. Like a lot of my peers in the art world that know I don't, you know, they want me to, and they're like, why don't you? And you should, and you know, and I'm just like, you know, who am I? You know. So, but that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm trying to get myself out there, and I mean, shoot, you know, all the big names. Shoot, I mean, I'd love a chance to meet Paul Stanker and hear what he has to say in person. You know, I read what he says on Facebook and the internet, but you know how that is. It's like you read what people say, and then you're not really sure how you're reading it or how they're meaning it, or you know, it's better when you're standing right next to them and you can really like understand the person and what they're really trying to say. Sometimes people write stuff and they come across the wrong way, I think, you know. Yeah, oh, I do that, you know. I think people take me the wrong way a lot. Like, ugh. I have a big problem with that. But I mean, you know, oh well.
Big mouth and no self-preservation.
That could be mine too. Shit, I don't know.
That's why I had to get out of the Army.
It's like, hey, I'm me, you know, this is me. Here I am. A lot of glass blowers pride themselves on pulling real nice points, and that's when you pull the glass out like I was just doing and make this part by just pulling it out. This is a standard wall, and I am terrible at pulling a standard wall point. Like, I can make a nice ass marble, but you get me to do something real simple like pull a nice point with standard wall? No. I'd rather just pull it right off and add a tube. But yeah, like, you know, a lot of glass blowers, they'll pride themselves on how nice they can pull a nice point, because it matters when you're spinning and you're making like a goblet or something. If your point is on point and it's nice and straight, then your goblet's going to be really nice and straight. Nice point is like the key to like making very nice goblets and stuff. I'm not making a goblet, so so forget the points.
Okay, you said you haven't really I mean, you've done forums and you've taken and watched people work side by side with them. Is that when you're learning how to do it? Or did you just play with it?
This technique that I'm doing here, I just pretty much, you know, just played with until I figured out how it was done. I knew that there was people doing space scenes, you know, that had space in it, and I could see their planets, and you know, my goal was I wanted to be in space too, because, well, you know, that's the thing that I like. You know, I like the whole space and, you know, sci-fi. That's my whole thing. And so, of course, that's where I went to when I decided to start making stuff. I wanted to do things that had space theme type stuff. But I didn't want, you know, I wanted to do my own planets. I wanted to come up with, you know, crazy stuff. Not really, you know, not really just the same old stuff. Kind of like, I ended up calling my first stuff Omniverse marbles because, well, the guy that I was telling you about, Gateson, he's got marbles that he calls universe marbles. Well, that's he copyrighted the universe marble and whatever. I don't know what he copyrighted. I think he copyrighted universe marble, so you can't call your stuff a universe marble. But, you know, people say that about my marbles. They're like, oh, it looks like a universe, and I'm like, oh, yeah, but, you know, I don't call them that.
Yeah, please don't say that.
Yeah, please don't say that. I don't want to get a letter or anything. A letter of, what do they send you? A letter of cease and desist.
Yeah.
But that's where the sun thing came in, is because, you know, I did notice when people were harping on me, I started looking at my marbles, and I was like, well, shit, yeah, I guess they do kind of look like dudes' marbles, you know, but you can't help it. If you're trying to make space in a marble, and you do a good job, you're going to look like the guy who's doing a good job at it, you know. And I don't know. His whole thing is that's bullshit. That there's 100 ways to do space, and you shouldn't be looking anything like his. So, you know, eventually I adopted that because, like I said, I do cherish their opinions, no matter how harsh they may be. And oh, did you see that? Did you catch that? What I tried to do right there was blow through something that couldn't be blown through. It happens all the time. I call it an Alfred for my buddy Alfred because he did it more than anybody I know, so I just call it an Alfred when I do it. Sorry, Alf. Love you, buddy. Now what I did there is just I made a condensed dome and condensed some glass, and then I just removed it from the bubble that I made it off of. And that's what I'll magnify my sun in.
So that's the piece you're gonna use, not the piece that you glue.
This is the piece I'm going to use right here. Yeah, like I said, in glass there's a lot of waste. You know, like I'll cut this off and I'll use this for a totally different type of project. Like I'll put a signature or a pendant in that. It won't be as much. This here? No. Very thin. And really there's not as much glass there as it looks like because it's so thin and I pulled it out. It's just a very little amount of glass made to look bigger because it's all blown out. Okay.